This is an emergency transmission from the National Weather Anomaly Response Network, broadcast designation NAARN 2447. If you are receiving this message, you are in an affected zone. Do not dismiss this as a malfunction. Do not assume you are safe. What we are about to tell you has been verified across 47 independent monitoring stations. The rain is wrong, and it has been wrong for 72 hours. At 3:42 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on November 14th, meteorological equipment across 6 states began registering impossible data. Rain gauges were filling, but Doppler radar showed precipitation moving in the wrong direction, not falling, rising. At first, weather stations dismissed it as instrument failure, a glitch in the system, a software error that would correct itself by morning. By morning, the rain was still climbing into the sky, and people were starting to notice. The first civilian report came from Millbrook, Pennsylvania. A truck driver parked at a rest stop called 911 at 4:17 a.m. He said the rain on his windshield was crawling upward. He thought he was having a stroke. The dispatcher told him to stay calm, to wait for medical assistance. But by the time paramedics arrived 11 minutes later, 3 other people at that rest stop were standing in the parking lot, staring up at the sky, watching water defy gravity. The paramedics saw it too. They radioed it in. Their report was flagged, escalated, and within 30 minutes reached the National Weather Service's Emergency Operations Center. By 6 a.m., it was confirmed. In a zone spanning from eastern Ohio to western Maryland, rain was falling upward. Not mist, not vapor, actual raindrops, visible to the naked eye, streaming upward from the ground, from rooftops, from lakes and rivers, rising into the clouds like the world had been flipped upside down. Meteorologists had no explanation. Physics had no explanation, but the phenomenon was spreading. If you are in an affected area, listen carefully. What follows are guidelines based on limited observation and witness testimony. These are not guarantees. These are not solutions. These are survival protocols for a situation we do not yet understand. First, do not touch the ascending rain. I repeat, do not make physical contact with water moving upward. In the early hours of November 14th, a woman in Harrisburg stepped outside to investigate. She extended her hand, letting the upward droplets pass through her fingers. Witnesses say she smiled at first, then she screamed. The water didn't just pass by her hand, it pulled at it, like invisible threads were stitched into her skin, tugging upward. Within seconds, her entire arm was being drawn toward the sky. She tried to pull away, but the force increased. Her husband grabbed her, tried to anchor her down. Both of them began to lift. Neighbors ran to help, forming a human chain. They managed to drag her back inside, but by then her arm was covered in what first responders described as suction marks. Circular patterns, perfectly uniform, like something had tried to drink from her skin. She was transported to a medical facility. Her current status has not been available for public disclosure. Do not touch the rain. Second observation. The rain does not rise from everywhere uniformly. It seems to prefer certain surfaces: asphalt, concrete, metal roofing, man-made structures. In rural areas where the ground is mostly soil and vegetation, the effect is minimal. But in cities, suburban developments, anywhere with significant paving, the rain rises in sheets. Some scientists theorize it's related to heat retention, to the way artificial surfaces absorb and radiate thermal energy. Others believe it's something else, something about the materials themselves. On the morning of November 15th, a school bus was traveling through an affected zone in West Virginia. The driver reported that rain began rising from the road surface so densely that visibility dropped to 0. Not because of falling water blocking the view, but because ascending water created a shimmering curtain in front of the windshield. The bus veered off the road. It rolled 3 times before coming to rest in a drainage ditch. 14 children were injured. 2 are still missing. Their search was called off after rescue teams reported equipment malfunctions and disorientation in the area. Compasses spinning, radios emitting only static, watches running backwards. Avoid large paved surfaces when the rain is active. Third observation, and this is critical, the rain has a rhythm. It does not rise constantly. It pulses. Witnesses describe cycles lasting approximately 7 minutes. For 6 minutes, the rain ascends normally, at a speed consistent with regular falling rain, just inverted. But in the 7th minute, something changes. The water accelerates. It doesn't just rise, it launches. Droplets shoot upward at speeds exceeding 60 miles per hour, vanishing into the cloud layer with such force that they create a sound, a high-pitched whistle. Some describe it as a scream. During these acceleration phases, standing water on the ground erupts violently. Puddles become geysers. Ponds spray upward in columns. On November 15th at 2:34 p.m., a small lake in rural Ohio completely emptied itself into the sky during one of these pulses. Within 90 seconds, a body of water covering 3 acres was gone, drained upward. Fish flopped on the exposed lake bed before they too were lifted into the air, spinning and thrashing as they rose. Some reached the clouds. Others fell back down, dead on impact. The lake bed remains dry. The water has not returned. If you hear the whistling sound, seek shelter immediately. Get indoors, close all windows, move to interior rooms with no external exposure. The acceleration phase is dangerous not just because of the speed, but because of what it carries. During these pulses, anything small enough gets pulled up. Leaves, trash, dirt, insects, small animals. On November 16th, a woman in Maryland was struck in the face by a rising stone during an acceleration phase. The impact fractured her skull. She is in critical condition. Others report being hit by debris traveling upward with enough velocity to bruise, to cut, to injure. Treat acceleration phases like a reverse hailstorm. The danger comes from below. Now we move to the observations that are harder to verify. The accounts that exist in incident reports but lack physical evidence. We include them here not as confirmed facts, but as warnings, as possibilities you should be aware of. Multiple witnesses across different locations have reported seeing shapes in the ascending rain. Not shapes created by the rain, but shapes moving within it. Silhouettes, outlines of things that don't quite resolve into recognizable forms. A family in Pennsylvania watched the rain rise from their backyard on the evening of November 15th. The father filmed it on his phone. In the footage, which has since been classified and removed from public access, something moves through the upward stream of water. Something large. The family described it as looking like a person but elongated, stretched vertically as if being pulled by the same force lifting the rain. In the video, you can hear their youngest daughter say, "Why is that man so tall?" The shape rotated slowly, as if becoming aware it was being observed. Then it accelerated upward and disappeared into the clouds. The family evacuated their home that night. They have not returned. Their current whereabouts are protected under witness security protocols. Do not attempt to record shapes in the rain. Do not watch them. Return to your home immediately and cover all windows. There are also reports of sounds, not the whistling of acceleration phases, but voices, specifically voices coming from above, from the clouds. On November 16th, a police officer responding to a disturbance call in a residential neighborhood heard what he described as someone calling his name from the sky. He looked up. The rain was rising all around him, and above, somewhere in the overcast layer, he heard his own voice calling back to him. But the words were wrong. He said it sounded like him, but the cadence was off. The phrasing strange, like someone imitating his speech patterns, but not quite getting it right. The voice said, "Come up here. It's better up here. You can see everything from up here." He radioed for backup and retreated to his vehicle. When backup arrived 12 minutes later, they found his patrol car empty, doors locked from the inside, radio still transmitting. They could hear breathing on the open channel. Slow, steady breathing. Then a voice, his voice, whispered, "I went up. I can see you down there." The transmission ended. The officer has not been located. If you hear voices from above, especially voices you recognize, do not respond. Do not look up. Return indoors and seal all entry points. Cover your ears if necessary. Do not listen. As of November 17th, the phenomenon has expanded. The original affected zone of 6 states has grown to include 11. The rain is still rising. Weather models cannot predict its movement because it doesn't follow standard atmospheric patterns. It appears to spread not through air currents, but through some other mechanism we don't yet understand. Satellite imagery shows the cloud formations above affected areas are rotating in ways that defy conventional meteorology, spiraling inward, thickening. Some climatologists describe them as looking less like weather systems and more like something feeding, something drawing mass upward and concentrating it. Government agencies are coordinating evacuation protocols, but these take time. Infrastructure is strained. Roads are hazardous. Communication networks are experiencing interference in affected zones. If you cannot evacuate, shelter in place. Follow these enhanced safety protocols. 1. Stay indoors between the hours of 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. These hours show the highest intensity of upward precipitation and the most frequent acceleration phases. 2. Do not use running water during active rain events. There are reports of water flowing backwards through pipe, faucets spraying upward, toilets emptying themselves into ceilings. One apartment building in Ohio experienced a catastrophic plumbing failure when water pressure reversed during an acceleration phase. The entire building's water supply shot upward through the system with such force it ruptured pipes on every floor. Residents were evacuated through waist-deep flooding, but the water wasn't pooling on the ground, it was rising up the walls. 3. If you must go outside, wear weighted clothing, ankle weights, weighted vests, anything to increase your mass and provide additional anchoring. On November 16th, a child in West Virginia was lifted off the ground during an acceleration phase. The child was playing in a yard when the pulse began. Witnesses say the child rose approximately 15 feet before the phase ended and they fell back to earth. Broken arm, fractured ribs. They survived, but the trajectory of their ascent was nearly vertical. If the pulse had lasted longer, if they had reached the cloud layer, we don't know what would have happened. Increase your weight. Stay grounded. 4. Mark your location. If you or someone in your household is pulled upward and survives the ascent, they will need to be found. GPS devices malfunction in affected areas. Standard radio beacons fail, but physical markers remain. Bright clothing, reflective materials, anything that can be spotted from the air during search and rescue operations. Multiple missing persons cases now involve individuals who are last seen being lifted into the clouds. We are treating these as abduction scenarios, though the abductor is not human. The abductor is the sky itself. Now, we must address the question you're all thinking. What is causing this? The truth is, we don't know, but we have theories. And some of these theories are more disturbing than the phenomenon itself. The first theory is geomagnetic, that something has disrupted Earth's magnetic field in localized areas, creating zones where gravitational force is inverted or weakened for water specifically. But this doesn't explain why the effect is isolated to precipitation. Lakes and rivers drain upward, yes, but oceans remain stable. The Great Lakes show no unusual activity. Only moving water, falling water, is affected. This suggests the phenomenon is not purely gravitational. The second theory involves atmospheric pressure anomalies, that a massive low pressure system has formed at high altitude, creating suction strong enough to overcome gravity for low mass particles. But pressure systems move, they dissipate. This has been stable for 3 days and is expanding. That's not weather, that's something else. The third theory is not being officially endorsed, but is being quietly discussed in classified briefings. Some researchers believe this is not a natural phenomenon at all, that the rain is responding to something, that it's being drawn upward by a presence in the cloud layer, an entity. Evidence for this theory is circumstantial. The shapes witnesses report, the voices, the rotational patterns in the clouds that look less like storm systems and more like something breathing, expanding, and contracting with rhythmic precision. On November 16th, a weather balloon equipped with cameras was sent up into the cloud layer above an affected zone in Pennsylvania. The balloon reached an altitude of 40,000 feet before transmitting its final image. The photo shows clouds, dense and dark, but in the center of the frame, something else, a darkness within the darkness, a shape that doesn't match cloud formation. It looks almost circular, almost like an eye. The balloon signal was lost immediately after. It has not been recovered. We are not saying this theory is correct. We are saying it's being considered. And if it is correct, then we are not dealing with a weather anomaly. We are dealing with an intelligence, something that wants the rain, something that is drinking the sky. There have been attempts at intervention. On November 17th, military aircraft were deployed to seed the clouds above affected areas with chemical dispersants, hoping to disrupt whatever mechanism is causing the inversion. The operation was called off after 2 minutes. Pilots reported severe turbulence despite clear conditions. Instruments failed simultaneously across all aircraft. One pilot radioed in that his altimeter showed him ascending even though he was in level flight. Another reported seeing his own plane reflected in the clouds below him, as if the sky had become a mirror. All aircraft returned to base. The mission was not reattempted. Cloud seeding has failed. Weather manipulation has failed. We cannot stop the rain from going up. All we can do is keep people out of its way. If you are listening to this broadcast, you are either in an affected zone or in a potential expansion area. Here is what you need to understand. This situation is evolving faster than our response capabilities. Evacuation routes are being established, but they take time. Supply chains are disrupted. Emergency services are overwhelmed. You may be on your own for an extended period. Prepare accordingly. Stockpile water. If municipal systems fail, if reservoirs drain upward, you will need reserves. Store water in sealed containers in interior rooms. Do not store it in basements. If the rain begins rising from below, basement storage will be the first to go. Stockpile food, non-perishable items, enough for 2 weeks minimum. Assume you will not be able to leave your home safely during peak rain activity. Secure your home. Seal windows and doors with weather stripping. The rain may be rising, but it still finds gaps. There are reports of water seeping upward through floorboards, through cracks and foundations. Treat your home like a boat taking on water from below instead of above. Establish communication. If cell networks fail, if internet goes down, you need alternative methods. Two-way radios, CB radio if you have it, physical signals for neighbors, flashlight codes, anything that can allow you to call for help or confirm that others are still there, still alive. Stay informed. This broadcast will continue on all emergency channels. Updates will be provided as new information is verified, but understand that information is limited. We are learning as this unfolds. What we tell you today may change tomorrow. Adapt. Stay flexible. Trust your instincts. There is one final piece of information we must share. On the evening of November 17th, the ascending rain stopped completely. For exactly 1 hour, from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, all precipitation in affected zones ceased moving upward. The rain simply hung in the air, suspended, motionless. Droplets froze in mid-ascent like someone had paused the world. Witnesses described the silence as overwhelming. The usual sounds of weather, of wind, of movement were gone. Just stillness. And in that stillness, people began to hear something else, a low hum, a frequency below hearing but felt in the chest, in the bones, a vibration that made teeth ache and eyes water. Some described it as the sound of something immense, breathing slowly. Others said it felt like the planet itself was listening. And then, at exactly 8 p.m., the rain resumed its upward climb, but faster, stronger. The acceleration phase lasted not 7 minutes, but 12 minutes. And during those 12 minutes, 3 more people vanished into the clouds. We believe the pause was not a malfunction. We believe it was deliberate. Whatever is causing this stopped to observe, to see if we would react, to see if we understood. And then it continued, with increased intensity, as if satisfied with what it saw, or disappointed. We cannot say which. If another pause occurs, do not go outside. Do not investigate. The stillness is not safety. The stillness is attention, and you do not want to be noticed. This is the National Weather Anomaly Response Network. Broadcast designation NWARN 2447. The rain is wrong. It has been wrong for 72 hours, and all projections indicate it will continue to be wrong for the foreseeable future. Affected zones are expanding at an average rate of 40 miles per day. If this rate continues, the phenomenon will cover the entire eastern seaboard by November 25th. Containment is no longer considered possible. Mitigation is our only strategy. Protect yourself. Protect your family. Follow all emergency protocols. Do not touch the ascending rain. Do not look at shapes moving within it. Do not listen to voices from above. Stay indoors during high activity hours. Increase your mass. Mark your location. Stockpile supplies. Maintain communication. Wait for further instructions. We do not know when this will end. We do not know if it will end. All we know is that the rain is going the wrong way and something up there is very, very thirsty. This has been an emergency transmission from the National Weather Anomaly Response Network. This message will repeat. Stay tuned. Stay inside. Stay heavy.